Good afternoon. I have a surprise. I'm going to make this presentation of English for two reasons. One, my German is still a bit of a Baustelle. Yeah. I always used to say my German is like the Berlin Flughafen, but now even that is completed. So I have to work on it. And second reason, I don't want to give you guys a headache at the end of it all with my German, because my word charts, my vocabulary is not so big. So I will stick to English, and if I'm too fast, too slow, please let me know. My name is Irfan, and I am leading the initiative for digital automation and innovation. But in simple words, what I do is I am the bridge between operations, customers, their problems, with partners, development teams, and the technology. So I bring them together. That being said, which organization do I come from? I come from an organization within Bosch. Bosch, as we all know here, is part of all phases of our life, right? Home, automobile, where we spend most of our time now before, office, and aspects such as that. Bosch Service Solution has a very unique standing wherein we focus on customer experience. Now you're wondering, my colleague Anne, for example, mentioned, but I would still like to add, you're wondering, what does Bosch Service Solution actually do? So if, for example, somebody's involved in a car crash in one of the German OEM cars, the emergency call that is placed, and the person when they talk to for emergency is probably a Bosch Service Solutions employee. Or if you're stuck in the railway station in one of the elevators, I hope you never get stuck, but whenever if you do, the emergency button that you press and you talk to somebody, that most probably is one of our employees. Or if you go to Spain and you call one of the telecom providers, one of the people you may talk to is our employees. So we are in the business of customer experience. We are endeavored to see how can we improve this experience for our internal customers, Bosch, as well as external as well. Now, here, what you're really trying to do is we're really trying to see how can we enhance the skills of our agents who are working in our contact centers with new skills, with digital workforce. Today, 1 out of 14 employees at our organization is a digital worker. What is a digital worker is? It could be automation, it could be digitization, wherein X number of hours are being automated with these technologies. Well, that is how it is today. Where we want to go is we want to take this workforce or this process pyramid that we have of transactional jobs, tactical jobs, strategic jobs, or more human decision-based jobs, and carve out the side and convert these workforce pyramid that we have into a workforce diamond. How do we do that is what is the content of my presentation. And with this workforce diamond, we want to achieve by 2025, 1 out of every 4 employee will be a digital worker in our organization. And we are endeavoring, we have worked, and our focus is always go beyond slides, go beyond the laboratory. Just don't keep doing POCs, but go out there, implement it for your customers, and make them feel the proof of the pudding. And that's not just us talking, it's also the awards that we have won, which are also testimonial to what I'm talking about. Well, that being said, before I jump into what Voicebots are about, it's very important from my perspective to understand the why, what, and the how of automation. And specifically from that aspect, I would like to get into the showcase of what Voicebots can do in this area of customer service and customer experience. Well, some market trends, right? Some of my co-presenters, peer presenters spoke about there is an apparent reduction in the number of choices when it comes to channels through which our customers engage with us. Well, from our own experience, we see 8 out of 10 people still would love to have a phone or a voice interaction. That being said, we also see an apparent need to really overcome this issue of IVR, IVRs were great when you had a hand, when you picked up the phone and you could press the buttons. Now, the way you interact on the phone is changing. You are mostly on your mobile phone, and if you have to press the button, you have to take it off, press it, and then take it back. Or if you're driving, God save us, right? So from that perspective, there's an apparent need where people are finding it more complex and an impact to the customer experience when they have IVRs. And what great feeling it is to have waited a few minutes to talk to an agent, and then the agent picks up and says, "Hello, Mr. Ali. So nice to talk to you today. Are you calling us regarding this order? Or how can I help you today?" So the agent already has the information. And this is one of the needs that we see from our customers. And the great resignation, quitting, pandemic, work from home have all impacted to the whole of this talent pool, the talent market shrinking, right? And once there is less of the talent market available, resources that is, we see the lesser people to man calls. If the lesser people to man calls, then we have longer waiting times for people, right? There was a colleague who was recently talking to me about the fact that, what is a comfortable waiting time for a caller, right? It could be less than a minute, could be more than 2 minutes, but take that and multiply it 3 times. That is what we're talking about with an impact or a reduction in the talent availability today. Well, all that being said, that's the market trend. Now, let me come to how does this look like today when you make a phone call, right? This is not our customer center. This is, I'm sure, not yours. But let's say that it's a customer center or contact center somewhere else. So on the left-hand side, you have the sentiment. And as the call comes in, as the person journeys through the call, there are different emotions that the person goes through, right? There's a long wait time. Then, the person says, "Okay, can you validate yourself again?" And so on and so forth, right? Or says, "Sorry, I need to check this with my customer, with my senior, or with an expert," so to speak. So the call may end not happy, not sad, not angry, but somewhere in the middle. This is just an example, right? Now you're wondering, okay, great. So we understand the market trends. We understand that there is a certain way the journey flows, right? But it's all gloom and doom. This is all sad news, but what is that we can do? So keeping all of this in context, what we did was we asked ourselves, there's so much of technology out there, right? People talk about chatbots, people talk about data analytics, AI, and so on and so forth. So we asked ourselves, how can we simplify this for ourselves to know what should we apply where, right? So we broke this down into 3 parts. Part number 1 was systems that do, right? So anything where you use graphical user interface, where you use the 3 R's, right? If a process is rule-based, routine, and repetitive in nature, then you use systems that do, right? Because it's mostly using your hands. The second aspect is systems that think, systems that can support in terms of decision trees, in terms of letting you know what's the next best action, right? And the third module, or third vertical, so to speak, is systems that decide and interact. And this is the core functionality of my presentation, which is how can we automate or attempt to partially automate conversations or interactions, right? So I'm trying to steer clear of using jargons like AI and so on and so forth, because I think it's important for us to just understand this in 3 modules. Now, going a little more specific into systems that decide and interact, right? So we look at conversational AI, we looked at chatbots, we heard about chatbots, we heard about other AI capabilities, but what specific use cases do we have for voice AI, right? Or for voice bots, so to speak, to keep it really simple. So we have use cases wherein the agent calls us, the customer calls us, and instead of speaking to an agent, speaks to a voice bot, and the voice bot collects all the information, validates, authenticates the person, creates the case, and then hands it to an agent if required, right? Or a newer use case is, can we do live voice-to-voice translations, which is you speak in German, I speak in English, and when we talk on the phone, we still understand each other. And for all of you who think of moving out, don't move out because I have a demo at the end of the presentation, right? So that's one incentive for you to stay back of how live voice translations work. So what I did was I created a demo, firstly, for a voice bot. So this is a voice bot that we have created with a demo with a standard voice. Please pay attention to the voice. It's standard. It's not specific voice that we develop for a customer based on their brand persona, their corporate guidelines. But this is a standard voice of the voice bot. And this is for a loyalty program. So, there you go.
Willkommen beim Kundenservice. Ich bin Nemo, Ihr virtueller Assistent. Sie haben jederzeit die Möglichkeit, mit einem Agenten zu sprechen. Einfach Bescheid geben. Bevor es losgeht, können Sie mir sagen, ob Ihr Anruf sich auf eine technische Störung bezieht?
Ja, ich kann mich auf der Webseite nicht einloggen.
Aktuell gibt es eine technische Störung auf unserer Website. Aus diesem Grund können sich Mitglieder nicht anmelden. Unser Fachteam ist bereits informiert und arbeitet mit Priorität an der Behebung der Störung. Wir bitten um Geduld. Haben Sie sonst noch eine Frage?
Ja,
Gerne. Wie kann ich behilflich sein?
ich möchte eine Veränderung in meinem Account vornehmen.
Damit kann ich Ihnen helfen. Können Sie mir bitte die 15-stellige Service-Card-Nummer geben?
Ja, 99200 123 45 67 890.
Die Nummer scheint nicht korrekt zu sein. Bitte geben Sie die 15-stellige Service-Card-Nummer manuell in Ihrem Handy ein, gefolgt vom Rautezeichen. Ihre Service-Card-Nummer lautet 99200 1234 567890. Ist das richtig?
Ja, das ist richtig.
Bitte nennen Sie mir die erste, die dritte und die vierte Ziffer der PIN, die mit Ihrer Servicekartennummer verknüpft ist.
134.
Wunderbar, ich konnte Sie als unser Mitglied identifizieren. Hallo Herr Alfieri. Welche Account-Informationen möchten Sie ändern?
Ich möchte meine Handynummer ändern.
Leider kann ich das nicht ändern. Um Ihre Handynummer zu ändern, gehen Sie bitte auf unsere Website. Unter Hilfe und Kontakt finden Sie die Registerkarte, Kundenprofil und Servicekarte. Anschließend wählen Sie den Kontaktformular unter Unterstützung bei der Änderung der Profilinformationen. Unser Fachteam wird sich mit Ihnen in Verbindung setzen, nachdem Sie uns das ausgefüllte Formular gesendet haben. Wünschen Sie einen Link via E-Mail und SMS mit diesen Informationen? Ich würde die in Ihrem Konto gespeicherten Kontaktdaten verwenden.
Ja, gerne.
Alles klar, ich habe die Informationen per SMS und E-Mail verschickt. Kann ich noch etwas für Sie tun?
Ja, ich möchte mein Geburtsdatum ändern.
Ja, das geht. Wie lautet das neue Geburtsdatum?
11. September 1980.
Alles klar, ich habe Ihren Geburtsdatum in unsere Datenbank geändert zu 11. September 1980. Kann ich noch etwas für Sie tun?
Ja, ich möchte mit einem Agenten sprechen.
Gerne, ich werde Sie umgehend mit einem Agenten verbinden. Bis zum nächsten Mal.
Difficult customer, Mr. Alfieri. A lot of questions, a lot of changes, I would say. But again, what you have to look at it, you have to take this with a pinch of salt, primarily because, number one, if you have to make changes into the system, you also have to factor in the API call updations and so on and so forth. There would be a certain lag in that as well. But how you integrate it, how deeply integrated is up to you. And the second part is the way Mr. Alfieri spoke is not always how the background noises are as well. You know, depending on what business you are in, the background noise, the quality of the voice would change. For example, if you're in the business of an OEM where somebody makes a phone call through their car, right, you can expect that you're not going to hear something as clear as this. So this is a VoiceBot demo that we have, and this is something that we have also implemented, not this one, but similar projects that we've implemented for a couple of our clients now. Now, let's look at the call journey again. So what really happens in that similar model that I just mentioned to you, what really happens to the call journey now, and how does the sentiment get better? right? So the similar thing wherein we have a call coming in, instead of human IVR, there is a voice bot, not really happy. And what really happens is the voice bot then tries to also give an FAQ back if you have activated the frequently asked questions resolutions as well, right? So, and that's really important. And once you start collecting all this information, you can actually create the case, create the ticket before you hand it over to the agent. And when the agent opens the case up or receives the case, the agent already knows what issue you're calling about, who are you, yeah, and what's your sentiment as well if you activate that, right? And you can manage the customer accordingly. Thereby, you can actually reduce the time with the agent quite dramatically. Because we were working with one of the customers wherein a lot of time was being spent by the agents asking them, could you give me your user ID, this 15-digit number or 16-digit number? And then they give it to us, they look around, they give it to us, then we ask them for the PIN. They're like, I don't have the PIN now. Then we tell them, go to the website, reset the PIN, and come back, right? So this is the non-value addition that gets crept into the call, which can be eliminated if you have a input from a voice bot, so to speak. Well, that was the what, right? The what of automation. Now, and voice bots. Now, how did we go about it? So this is an example for one of the German OEMs that we have. And when we got the project, along with this German OEM, it was quite a wide array of services that we're doing for them across calls and across emails. And still, voice was quite an important component of this engagement that we had. And what is really interesting is when we got this engagement, one of the most important KPIs was we were to automate 12 million minutes across the contract period using those 3 pillars that we spoke about, right? So we said, can we just go dive into it and just look at everything and start automating? Or like they say, can we take a hammer and find nails everywhere? Probably not. Probably not. So what did we do? We sat down with the customer and drew up a digital transformation roadmap. A roadmap wherein we said, let's take it in a Lego block approach. First, let's get the foundations right. Let's get a CRM implemented. Let's get the CTI or computer telephony integration done. And then let's look for the low-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruits could come from systems that do, which is RPA or text AI, for example. In this case, specifically, it was we implemented text AI project wherein we were receiving close to 20,000 emails every month, right? And these 20,000 emails would come in this DCC or Digital Contact Center 1.0. What would happen is the emails would come in, and there would be somebody who would read those emails and then will send it to the right solution groups, right? So what we did was, based on historical data, we were able to build AI algorithms which would, by themselves, read the email, extract the key information, and send it to the relevant solution groups. Plus, wherever it was a frequently asked questions, they were able to respond back as well to the customer. Right? So that was 1.0, and 2.0 was the addition, the second layer on top, which is you have the data. You know who's calling you, for what issues are they calling you, and you also know that what kind of attachments you're receiving, what kind of frequently asked questions are you getting. And that is where you bring in a response back, which is using voice bots, using frequently asked question response, automated responses, so to speak. And the third level, or DCC 3.0, is more about how can I bring in agent assist, right? How can I bring in a way in which I can address the issues that my agent is facing while they are on the call, right? How can I do channel deflection, which is, can I take them away from a phone call into a WhatsApp chat so that the cost of utility of engagement of the caller can be reduced? Because if you're on the phone with the agent, right, you can't really do too many things. But if you're able to deflect them into WhatsApp, they can do multiple things as they're chatting with you. And language does not become a barrier then. Well, we've been implementing this for our customer, and these are some of the benefits that we have been able to help them realize, primarily because of the staggered approach. Where we are in this journey is we are currently at DCC 2.0, and we are moving into DCC, or Digital Contact Center 3.0 shortly. And the voicebot that we implemented for them was for a different region, wherein there were two aspects that I would like to specifically highlight here. Number one is, as the voicebot got more intelligent, was able to understand different phrases, was able to understand different questions, people were more happy to engage with it. The same problem we have with chatbots, right? Half the time the chatbot tells us, no, I don't understand what you're saying. So that was one. So 1 out of 2 calls were being handled by the voicebot. Number two, and this was really interesting, is we were able to reduce the time spent by the caller on the phone before they spoke to the agent by 50%, which was the time they would have spent with IVR or waiting. And so from an employee experience, from a customer experience perspective, and a caller experience, this triangle, we were able to bring this together and say, how can we make this better? And in this specific example, we had about 35,000 calls coming in every month. So that is what we're looking at. Now, some of the key takeaways that I'd like to have here is, it's absolutely important that you start with the right expectations. If you try to boil the ocean, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be a super failure in terms of what you want to achieve. Start with small pieces in terms of what the voicebots can do. Start with callbacks, add frequently asked questions, then move on, so to speak. And with the voicebots, let's be clear, the truth on the street is, if somebody tells you they can get 100% recognition of the voicebot of what the caller is saying, not true. So it's a process. AI or implementing such technologies is a process where you have to keep learning, you have to keep updating. Well, we all know Twitter, so I thought I will get your attention by having a few verified tweets. So some of the key takeaways that we see here, right, is it's really, really important that you look at what is reality, who are the real users. For example, we were trying to implement a voice bot for a customer, and the customer who would call us from a car. And we were trying to test it from Skype, right? And when we actually tried to do real-life testing, it was failing because we had not considered the background noises and so on and so forth, right? The second key aspect is, be very clear of the user experience, right? See, rather than saying, would you like to have a call back tomorrow? And the times available for tomorrow is morning, afternoon, and evening, right? This works perfectly on a chatbot because you're reading it, right? But when you're listening to it, the action was, would you like to have a call tomorrow? So hence, it's important that you put the prompt where you want the caller to take action at the end. And this was something that we learned as well. And the third important part was error logs. Map the whole process and see where are people dropping off. See where are people getting stuck in a loop. Because that is your recipe to really having a smooth customer journey through the call. Well, the other thing is this, right? We humans are very, very different, right, in terms of the way we communicate. When we want to say yes, we sometimes don't say yes. We say a lot of other things. For example, there was this call that came in, and the bot asked, "Möchten Sie fortfahren?" Right? So usually the answer that we had given in or we had fed in was yeah, past, yep, stuff like that. But what the caller said was, to the question, "Möchten Sie fortfahren?" the caller said, "Fortfahren." Right? So hence, you have to think of it from different ways how humans could respond. The other part is, do not keep. Sometimes when operations give you prompts, it can be really long, and that can really impact the caller. They're like bored, like, oh, that's why I don't like talking to voice bots, right? The other one is ensure that you keep the loop in terms of the learnings. Because if you do not keep the agent, the subject matter expert in the training, it's a recipe for failure. Like I said, I'd like to say it again, the gold mine, the whole value is in the logs. You can build the best user conversational design, but if you do not look at the logs and make it more seamless and friction-free, you're always going to have less acceptance for the voice bot. Last but not the least, my favorite was dialects, right? Especially in the German language. Coming from India, that's not something that I'm so worried about, of course. But here, I'll give you an example. We were doing some testings, and we tested. We handpicked people from across all the regions of Germany, and we were putting the voice bot through a test. So, möchten Sie fortfahren? The same question, and we had built the bot for yes, for everything, yeah, yep, etc. Right? And then this lady comes in from Sachsen, and she says, no, yeah? And we're like, how do you figure that out, Because no in Sachsen also means yes, right? I mean, so hence it's very important that you take dialects into account when you're doing a testing. And like none other software projects that you do, if you factor in X amount of time for testing, I would say multiplied by 4 times, because the more you test, the more you will make the voice bot better before it hits the ground in terms of production. What are we looking at in the future? Like I said, DCC or Digital Contact Center 3.0. The first thing is, how can we make channel deflections? Through channel deflections, the benefit is, if it is text, if you bring them onto text, the benefit is locations are no more a challenge, right? It doesn't really matter where your location is, and how good is the dialect, how good is the language of the person who's talking, because then you can always bring in aids, you can always bring in help with respect to making the conversation more seamless. So for example, when somebody calls you, you can always send a response back and say, thank you for calling, but for future, you can continue this conversation through WhatsApp, for example. And this is something that everybody's doing, but we're trying to see how we can make it more integratable to our customer process. Agent assist, like I mentioned, when the caller is on the phone, is it possible that we can help our agent resolve the call faster? And live translation. And this was what I wanted to show you. I only have 3 minutes, so what I will do is I'll show you part of the video. We have broken the speech between the two into 2 parts and made it slower for the fact of cognition. Otherwise, it's quite fast. So the call comes in.
Hallo, Sie haben die Car Service Assistance Hotline erreicht. Wie kann ich Ihnen heute helfen?
Hallo, mein Name ist Marie Reinhardt. Ich hatte einen Unfall und brauche einen Abschleppwagen.
Bitte buchstabieren Sie Ihre Bosch-Benutzerkennung, damit ich Ihre Vorteile überprüfen kann.
FKL 147.
Bitte teilen Sie mir Ihren aktuellen Adresse mit, wenn Sie sich in Ihrem Heimatland befinden.
Ich bin auf der B47 in Richtung Heppenheim.
And here you see the
Ich
agent assist.
benötige Ihre Bestätigung der Adresse B47.
And this is the agent who is typing in, and the conversation
Bitte
is
warten
happening
Sie am Telefon.
in real time.
Okay.
My name is George and I'm an expert in this kind of situation. Please tell me if you are all safe.
Mein Name ist George und ich bin ein Experte für solche Situationen. Bitte sagen Sie mir, ob Sie alle in Sicherheit sind.
Es gibt keine Verletzten und ich bin hier alleine.
Okay, ich werde mich mit unserem Abschleppunternehmen in Verbindung setzen und es zu Ihrem Standort leiten. Versperren Sie die Straße?
I'm sorry, I'll cut that short because of the fact that we're running out of time. But like I had promised to the organizing team, I will make up for my English with videos, because after all, I come from the land of Bollywood, so it had to have a little song and dance as well. So that was me and my voice bots. I hope my voice bots and me were able to keep you informed of what we're trying to do. And if there are any further questions, please reach out to me and to Anna, and we're more than happy to take this further. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Irfan. I really enjoyed your talk. Ich würde sagen, wir nehmen uns noch Zeit für eine Frage, wenn es eine gibt. Nein? Alle happy? Doch, eine Frage.
Hi. How do you do the live translation? Are you using some external provider like DeepL or, I don't know, Microsoft Translate, or did you develop this yourself?
So we use different services, absolutely right. So primarily we use the services from the normal cloud providers that we have, integrating that with them, so to speak. Every time we have to do a translation, we have an integration or a service integration with them.
So you don't have your own software for this?
No, not yet. Like I mentioned, that's something we're developing right now. So thank you for the question.
Okay. But people can approach you afterwards. You will be here for some time. Okay, well, thank you very much, Irfan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Großen Applaus bitte nochmal. Irfan Ali.